I thought it was worth giving you an update on the best cashback and reward cards here in the UK in 2024. There's a mix there of debit cards and credit cards in there as well. And I'll take you through the ones which I think are worth considering. There will be other options which might give not quite as good rates or not quite as good features. So I'm not covering every single one here. These are just the top ones for you to go for. If you do want more information, I do look at other ones, other options you can go for over at becleverwithyourcash.com. So first of all, quickly, the difference between a cashback and a reward card. They might sound like the same thing, and often people do write about them and talk about them as if they are, but they are quite different. A cashback card is exactly what it sounds like. You get cash back. It might come back every day, every month, maybe every year, but that is money for you to spend as you wish. There aren't any constraints around it. Whereas a reward card will generally give you points. Now, those points might be convertible to something which you can use as if it is cash, but sometimes they might be very specific in terms of where you use them. So that's the difference between the two. Broadly, I prefer a cashback card to give me that flexibility and that choice. But there will be some benefits to some of those reward cards, which we'll touch on quickly as well. It's also a difference between credit cards and debit cards. Most of these cashback and reward cards are credit cards. And these are, you guys know this already, I've spoken about it so many times, but a credit card obviously is where you are effectively borrowing money every time you are spending on them. And you've got to remember, and it's so important to do this, you've got to remember to pay off the full balance every single month. Once that statement comes through, you normally got a couple of weeks to clear it. You want to do that, the entire balance cleared, because that way you will avoid interest getting charged. If you don't do that and you're getting charged interest, then that is going to wipe out any of the benefits you're going to be getting from those rewards or those cashback, whatever it is you're earning. A debit card, on the other hand, is one that comes with a current account. And there aren't many of these, just a couple, and they are ones where you have to have money in the account itself in order to spend it. So from that point of view, it might be easier to keep track of what's going on. Very quickly as well, I'm only going to talk about cards here where there are ongoing offers. There are others that come about quite regularly. Every couple of months, one of these pops along, which might have a limited amount of cashback or a limited number of points for a certain amount of time. And this year already, we've seen that from the likes of Trading 212 and Hyperjar. But those offers are for a set period and then they end. Now, they could come back. They could make them permanent features, but at the time recording this, they are not ongoing ones. Again, when we do have those new offers coming along, I talk about them over on the monthly updates on the YouTube channel, the credit card updates and deals. Plus, anytime there's a good deal, we include it in our newsletter every single Thursday. So if you want to look out for those ones, and they could be higher rates of cashback, more points and rewards, they might be better than these, but for short periods of time, that's where you'll find them. Let's start off with the debit cards though, because these ones are, I think, probably for most people, the easiest ones to go for and the best ones to go for. And they are both cashback. There aren't really any reward debit cards. I'm not talking about here the debit cards where give you certain retailer specific rates. There are a number of them out there. Credit cards do this, but they're talking here about ongoing rates. Every time you spend your money, you'll get something back. Only two of these worth talking about. And the number one here, the best one here, in terms of that ongoing rate of cashback is Chase Bank. It's been going for 3 years now, I think, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be, since that was first launched. And this one will give you 1% cashback on most types of spending. All these cards are going to have some kind of restriction, right? But this one is most of your spending, you will get 1% back. Now, there is a cap on this of £1,500 every single month. So the most you're going to earn every month is 15 quid in cash for that 1% back. Now, for most people, your everyday spending, that is going to be fine. And that's why my top pick is going to cover the bulk of your spending. Of course, if there are months when you are spending more, you might go over that cap, in which is maybe you want another card as another option, maybe one of those we'll talk about in a moment. You also, and this is a rule that did come in earlier this year, you do have to add in £1,500 to your Chase account every month in order to earn cash back in the following month. Now, I've covered that in more detail in previous content, so you can check that out, and we'll put that link to that in the notes as well, so you can get more info on that. But broadly speaking, that is going to be your best way for continuously earning money. And the other big thing about it, why it is a perk above all the other cards I'm going to talk about in a moment, is that this one will be a soft check on your credit report in order to get it. So you're more likely to be able to get this, even if you have a really, really poor credit rating, and applying for it itself isn't going to impact your credit score in any way. So that one is get it in your wallet. The only downside I would say for most people is this is an app only card. So if you're not someone who likes digital banking at all, then I'm afraid you are going to miss out on this one. But for everyone else, that's a good bet. Now, the other debit card that gives cash back is much more restricted, but it does come with a current account, which I think is worth looking at for other reasons. So if you're going to get this card anyway, then it's worth knowing that you've got this option to earn some cash back as well. And this is the Santander Edge current account. This one comes with a monthly fee of £3 a month, so it is not a cheap one to go for, but the features here, and I've covered this many times, so I won't repeat myself too much, but this includes 1% cash back on many of your bills, and will give you 7% interest on your savings up to £4,000 for a year. So if you are doing those things, you're paying your main bills and getting your cash back, and you've got the interest there, then effectively that fee will be more than covered, hopefully. Do the maths there and do check out my other content talking about this account. The other feature to say, though, is that cashback. Now, it is 1% and it's only on a few things, and it's not the best things in the world. If you've got the Chase account, you don't need it. It's basically 1% on your supermarket shopping and 1% on a few other kind of elements, such as travel at cost. So your train tickets, bus tickets, ferries, things like that. So it might be, if you've got the card anyway, you might want to use it for some of those spending, and it might come in useful. Say, if you've got the Chase account and you're reaching that cap every month, well, maybe you put your supermarket shopping on here just to free up a little bit of cash elsewhere. But again, not an amazing one, but certainly one to consider. That is it for debit cards with regular ongoing offers. Let's move on now to credit cards, and let's do cashback credit cards before reward credit cards. The top one here is American Express. In fact, many of the top cards we talk about will be Amex. The problems with American Express cards tend to be that some retailers won't always take them. So you might find that you want to get those points, you want to earn that money back, and sometimes you won't be able to. So you might want to consider having another backup if the debit card we talked about before isn't already one of those. But broadly speaking, you want to get the best rates from these. For cashback, pure cashback, you're looking at the American Express Cashback Credit Card. It used to be called the American Express Platinum Cashback Credit Card, but they've renamed this one. This will earn you up to 1.25%, which sounds good, right? And it is, but you have to spend more than 10 grand in a year to get that higher rate. For the first £10,000 you spend in the year, you get 0.75%, which is still decent and much better than you get in most other places. We'll come to a few ones that will beat that in a moment. But 0.75, and then if you spend over 10 grand, it goes up to 1.25%. But after 12 months, it resets back, that £10,000 resets. So you're not going to continuously be getting the higher rate once you spent 10 grand. The problem with this one is that money is paid after 12 months. You don't get it straight away. So you won't, doesn't matter how much you spend on it, it will take a while to come through. But when you finally do get that cash, it comes as a statement credit. So obviously you can then ask for that to be refunded to you, or you can just spend on that card as you wish, and ultimately you won't pay for it because that credit will eat it all up. What's also really good about this one is it has a 5% bonus. If you're brand new to American Express, you've not had an Amex in your name in the last 2 years, you can get up to 125 quid. So that 5% will be on the first 2.5 grand spend in the first 3 months. So if you do that, then that's a much, much chunkier amount of bonus you're going to get on top, and then you earn the other rate for the rest of your money. What I would say about this one, it does have a £25 annual fee, but American Express have been doing plenty of offers recently, which has wiped that out. So it's definitely worth checking to see if that is running at that time. And also with this card, all the other American Express cards I mentioned, and maybe some of the others, if you go via a cashback site like Quidco or Top Cashback, there's often another saving on top. Could be 20 quid, could be 25 quid, could be 30 quid on this particular card. So effectively that would pay not just for the first year. If you're then getting the fee wiped off, that's effectively 2 years of it you're getting with no fee. Obviously, after that time, you do have to factor in how much of that fee is going to wipe out potentially some of your earnings, but it's still paying you much more than many of the other cards out there. Now, there is the American Express Cashback Everyday Credit Card, which is free. That pays a lower rate of cashback, so it's 0.5% on that first big chunk of money. But also, the problem with that one is you have to spend at least 3 grand in a year to qualify for the cashback full stop. So if this is like your backup card and you don't spend 3 grand on it, let's say you do 2.5 grand, you get no cashback at all. So that's not why it's not my top pick. I think for most people, you're going to be better off with that previous card. Sticking with cashback ones, one of my top ones I do talk about quite a lot when I talk about cards to use overseas is the Barclaycard Rewards Card. Now, this is a much, much lower rate of cashback, 0.25%. Okay, so lower than all the others. So why bother with that one? Well, this one is fee-free to use overseas, and you earn that cashback overseas. Now, the Chase one, incidentally, the debit card before, that's also fee-free overseas. That's still your primary one. But there are times when you'll need a credit card abroad, whether that's hiring a car or you want to get some extra protections, whatever it might be, then I think this is the best one to go for here. And it's certainly the one that I use. The problem you get with Barclaycard is they don't let you have more than one card. You can have one credit card with them. So there are other ones, Avios ones, which we'll talk about briefly in a second. If you want that, then you won't be able to get the Barclaycard Rewards one. But again, that is cashback that is paid to your account much, much more regularly, so you can access that cash much sooner. But again, for me, that one really is more of a backup. There's also a new card that launched this year from Santander again. There's also an Edge one again. You do need to have one of the Edge current accounts in order to get this one, but this one will give you up to 2% back for the first year. After that, it drops down to 1% from the year 2 onwards, and there is another fee with this, £3 a month. So this one, although the rate sounds good, you are kind of quite restricted here as well on how much you're going to earn, which really kind of brings it down. So I wouldn't necessarily go for this one over any of the others, but it's worth having a look at this. And there are, again, sometimes some welcome offers which give you a few months free, maybe 6 months free, something like that, which could be worth a look at. But again, maybe you've got to be sure that you're going to spend a lot of it, and maybe this is just a year 1 card, as long as you spend the amount that you're going to spend to get that money back to cover that fee and still earn above it. It's not a bad one to look at. And that one is a MasterCard as well, if you do want to mix things up. There are some NatWest cards. I'm not going to talk about them here because I don't think they're particularly worthwhile compared to other options out there. But very quickly, you can get 1% cash back on your supermarket shopping with the reward card and 1% shopping on your holiday booking, travel kind of expenses with the travel reward card. But again, that 1%, well, you can get that with that Chase card, and you can get that with another card I'm going to talk about in a minute. So broadly not ones to go for everyone, but they might be worth a look. Also, likewise, the Lloyds and Halifax cashback credit cards, 0.25%, but not fee-free overseas. I wouldn't bother with those. Right, that's the cashback credit cards. Let's quickly look at the reward credit cards now. And the reward will say this is where you're earning some points. And broadly speaking, as you know, I'm not a massive fan of these compared to cashback cards, but some of them do have big advantages. And in fact, the one that I think possibly is better than that Amex Platinum cashback card, so the American Express cashback credit card, is the American Express Nectar credit card. This one, as the name suggests, means you will earn Nectar points. Now, Nectar points aren't cash, they are points, but you can use them as if they're cash as long as you're happy to shop in Sainsbury's or Argos. In that point of view, this card will give you the equivalent of 1% back on your spending. So as long as you're happy for that, it does beat the cashback card from Amex. This one also has a fee in the but it's free in the first year. After that, it's £30 a year. But again, you can get cashback from a cashback site when you apply, which will effectively give you that second year free as well. What I would say about that one as well, another advantage it has over the Amex cashback card is that the points are earned when you spend. So you're not having to wait for them. So you've got them straight away. A really nice, easy one for you to go for. The other one which Amex has got, which is popular, is the American Express Preferred Rewards Gold credit card. Now this one, the rate potentially could give you up to 0.75% back, so similar to the gold one, because thanks to a bonus, if you spend close to sort of about $5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, then you'll get a boost each time, just over that rather than just under it. You get a bit of a boost, so roughly 0.75% equivalent if you use those points, swap them for things like gift cards or for things like Nectar. In fact, you can use them at Sainsbury's if you want to, swap them that way. This is free in the first year and does come with some quite chunky welcome offers, which are worth looking at. Again, I share those with you guys regularly in the newsletter and on the site when they come along. But again, I don't think there are perks that come with it, but broadly speaking, I wouldn't be looking at this one right now over those other Amex cards. But it's definitely worth having in the back of your mind if a really good welcome offer comes along or extra bonuses come along. But the benefit there, I suppose, if you don't want to use it as if it's cash, potentially you can get more value for it. And I'm not going to go too much on this one, but potentially you can get more money because you can swap those points you've earned, those American Express reward points, into airline points. If you are collecting airline points, that might be your way of doing it. But I'm not the biggest fan of those, which is why I'm only going to very briefly talk about some of those different airline cards out there. Barclaycard, as I mentioned, does have an Avios credit card. In fact, it's got 2 Avios credit cards. One's free and one charges you money for this. You can get a decent welcome bonus with the paid one. I'm not the hugest fan of these, as I say, simply because it does restrict you just to using, particularly Avios ones, pretty much just using BA, a couple of other partner airlines, but you are restricted to certain flights and you've got to pay the tax on top of it. And broadly speaking, I'd rather get cash back elsewhere and shop around. Where it has an advantage is if you spend a certain amount in a year, you will be able to earn basically an upgrade voucher. It's kind of 2-for-1 voucher. So if you did want to go for that and you are dedicated to earn enough points for that, you have to spend a lot of money to earn enough points to use those. That can be worth a look. Likewise, the British Airways American Express credit card. There are 2 of those, again, a free one and a paid for. Again, same principles, very, very similar fees. Not the biggest fan of them, but potentially some quite hefty welcome bonuses, particularly that paid for American Express BA card, preferred rewards card. So they are possibly worth a look. But the other ones worth quickly touching on very briefly here are retailer-specific reward credit cards. Now, a lot of people talk about the Tesco one. They think they've got the Tesco one as a great one because they shop there. They get 5 points for every £4 they spend, which sounds great. What isn't massively clear is those 4 of those 5 points you're getting with that Tesco card are actually what you normally get with a club card anyway. 1 point for every £1 you spend. All you're getting extra is 1 point, which is worth 0.2%. So really that is all it is. And that's just in Tesco. It's even less outside of Tesco. What you're much, much better off in your supermarket shopping, for Tesco at least, is using Chase or the American Express Nectar card or any of the other ones I've spoken about so far. They'll give you much more. However, there are some supermarkets which do pay a slightly boosted rate. The top one here is the John Lewis Partnership Card. That will give you 1.25% back in John Lewis and in Waitrose. A much, much lower rate elsewhere. But if you regularly go to those places, that is one of the highest rates you're going to get out there. Asda also has a credit card. This one will give you 1% back in Asda. But when you first apply for it, there are regular welcome offers that boost that, whether that's 20 quid or 50 quid. The one earlier this year that was 100 quid. Again, I share those ones in my monthly updates on credit cards and when we spot them over on the site and in our newsletter. So that could be a good option, even for a short period of time, going for that. Sainsbury's recently got rid of their one, so you can't really earn any decent Nectar points with them, so they're not worth looking at. The last one really with supermarkets is the M&S Bank one. 1% back, again, that can be beaten. That is just at M&S, it's much lower elsewhere. But if you regularly shop at M&S, there might be some other tiny little perks worth a look. I know I've covered a huge number of cards there, and you'll be thinking, what about this? What about that? As I said, there's more information about all of these and other cards over at becleverwithyourcash.com. My name's Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these videos here for more ways to make the most of your credit card.